Oh yeah, it's a little bit awkward, but I think we have figured out a compromise. And speaking of compromise, we are now going to be loading in onto Everdream LE Ideally Edla, which I imagine is a compromise between these two players. They both have 1 veto each, so, you know, who knows how they fit. In the bottom left-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we do in fact have a red Protoss player. You know him, you love him. In the semifinals once again, representing Jin Air Green Wings, he is Soul of Sky, otherwise known as sOs.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Everdream LE, we have the other South Korean Protoss player representing Afrika Freaks. It is Stats.
And have we... I lied. I kind of feel like we've casted this particular matchup, Stats and SOS, a lot. But now that I actually try to search through my memory bank, I'm not actually visualizing it. I think we just casted so many PvPs that at some point we just thought, yeah, no, they've all probably played against each other. We probably casted all of them against each other at least once.
Yeah, so I have to agree with you in the sense that, especially in ESL Open Cup Asia, we've casted a lot of PvPs. That is essentially what this tournament has become for us, just the PvP tournament. Stats Trap and Zest. For the longest time, like, we've seen them go back and forth. SOS, like, because he hasn't played in anywhere near as many of these, I don't think we've had the luxury of casting him in a PvP against
Yeah, we certainly
Stats.
haven't. We haven't casted him against Sats in any of the other matchups, but certainly not in PvP as well.
Yeah, and I was actually just quickly checking, and yeah, looking at the history, they have not faced each other in ESL Open Cup Asia. So this is the first.
Each other? It's the second question.
They've literally never faced
like
each other.
Probably like faced each other once or twice in Pro League, but other than that, they both kind of.
I can't tell if you're being serious with me.
No, I'm being serious with you there, because I think just because of how Pro League works, eventually they're gonna have to face head-to-head at some point. But they both had different sort of peaks and different sort of rises and eras that I feel like, yeah, they really... No, they didn't face at BlizzCon 2018. Okay, saved.
I was about to say they faced each other a lot in 2018. 2018 was the year where they did go head to head. This year, in competitive play, in tournaments, they've only faced each other once, and that was in IEM Katowice at the start of the year when SOS 3-2'd Stats.
It's just who?
Went all the way to Game 5.
Yeah, showing that La Cucaracha never dies.
Exactly. So yeah, we did see Stats in many ways dismantle his opponent in Justice Simon earlier today. We'll see how SOS holds up against the Shield of Ire.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a question. Something kind of like Justice Simon. SOS is going for this Adept build into a Robo facility. Nice shade here. Might be able to get this. No, does not get a Stalker. Stats keeping just about everything alive.
Yeah, SOS a little bit disappointed that he actually didn't kill any Stalker there. Stats nicely timed recall there, able to save every single one. He was able to spot the oncoming Adepts as well, which was so important. Oh, a little bit out of position.
Coming in, but the probe is in position. Ooh. And Stats will prevent a shade into the main.
That he will, and we saw this with Justice Simon as well. Justice Simon did something similar to this, except with a little bit less Adepts. So, you know, Stats is already warmed up for this kind of defense.
A bit of explosion there when you see a cancel gateway with the skin.
Yeah, definitely, and here we go. We do have the Shade going in once again. SOS looking to try and get some more worker damage, but Stats is on top of his Stalker control, on top of those Shades, make sure that he is unable to. And, ooh, SOS reinforcing.
Moving across the map. Gonna be rallying that Warp Prism as well into that location, so SOS gonna be doing a very committed 2-base push here. Not necessarily an all-in, but kind of an all-in.
Yeah, there's no other tech behind this. It's just the sentries, the immortals, and the adepts that are going to be heading across the map here. Meanwhile, stats, he is ramping up. Like, he's got a forge on the way, Twilight Count's on the way. He is spending his money on tech, not as much on army, on units, because he doesn't know that the immortal and the sentries are coming to reinforce. So this could catch him off guard, but he will spot this.
Indeed, he will, but he's nowhere near in position to deal with it.
Oh.
No blink available. These force fields doing so much. There's only one warp, not warp prism, shield battery right now, and another two now being warped in. Stats, you know, he's gonna really have to show why he was called the Shield of Iron here.
Yeah, but with only one shield battery against an immortal, I don't know if he's gonna be able to do this.
With charge, that may just be enough here for SOS to one-shot these. Immortal a little bit, control a little bit clumsy there, but there we go. The shield battery has been taken out, and I feel like SOS may have just done it. Probes now being pulled, but the army units are now starting to really fall down. GG is called. SOS taking game number 1.
Wow, and I love how SOS played that out. Again, we were talking about how just Simon went for something a little bit more similar, except he just went for the adepts. Like, there was a follow-up push for SOS. Like, he was committing to it, and stats, he had no idea. He was throwing down all these tech structures. He was working on his upgrades, thinking that the game was thinking that he would have a little bit more time, and no, SOS was giving none of that.
Yeah, I guess he really kind of knows how to hit things down when.
Yeah, it was really cool to see, because again, like, as stats, he just wasn't really prepared. He only had a single shield battery ready. He didn't have blink available. It was on the way. Like, towards the end, blink was being researched, but it just wasn't done. And yeah, he just was not prepared for the aggression that SOS whipped out.
Yeah, I think that SOS has just about found the proper window, at least when it comes to facing against stats, that is.
Yeah, and as a bit of an update for the people in the chat who are wondering, because I was curious myself as the semis started, Wardy, he was casting ESL Open Cup Asia, but Doryu Cup did begin as the semis began, so he is now covering that instead. So yeah, we are left here, and I think even Into the New went as well to cast Doryu Cup.
Oh, so we've unfortunately lost our translator right now,
yeah.
But what we have not lost, Light, is the game, and you kind of mentioned a little bit. We thought we weren't going to be seeing this map tonight, but now we are. We are on the Golden Wall, protecting the Eternal Empire and whatnot. On the right side of the map, spawning all the way in the right side of the map, we have a red Protoss coming out all the way from that team house. You know where it is. I actually don't. I'm hoping you do, so you can inform me. In the land of Korea, representing Generic Green Wings, we have La Cucaracha de la Goria himself, SOS.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Golden Wall LE. Again, somehow this map made it through the vetoes. I'm just glad we're going to be casting it at some point today. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Afrika Freaks. It is Stats.
Now, SOS on Golden Wall, how is this going to play out, Light? Is this even legal?
Yeah. I'm excited, and I'm afraid I'll be disappointed. I hope he doesn't. SOS, like, he has a big brain. He's known for his insane builds, his aggressive play style. On a map like SOS, like, the world is his oyster, you know? Like, pick your poison. Like, you've got so much available to you. You have, like, this lower half of the map that's completely shut off, available for proxies. We have the gold bases. We have the short rush distance by air. Like, there's just a lot available to you.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, I feel like when this map first came out, SOS was kind of like a kid in a candy store. Nowadays, you know... Yeah.
His eyes just lit up, you know, he's like, oh.
Nowadays, I think it has been figured out, you know, a lot of tricks regarding things like, you know, the middle of the map with the minerals and whatnot, the golden base and all of those. a lot of these tricks have been figured out. SOS not, you know, it's kind of lost its novelty, but it's still distinct amongst the other current ladder maps.
Yeah, I don't think it's not like we're gonna say, oh, he's gonna do something unique that we've never seen before, but just, you know, there's just so much available to you in terms of aggression or in terms of how to approach the matchup in the game. So yeah, we'll see what SOS decides to do, what both players decide to do. Again, like, this isn't just restricted to SOS. This map in general is quite odd, quite strange, quite unique, and it's, yeah, either player can take advantage of that.
Yeah, and so far it seems like Stats, he's just going to be playing it out normal-ish. This seems like a bit of a full wall. So he's going to be mining towards the south. This is something we've seen Stats do quite a bit, I think, last week. Whenever Stats was on Golden Wall, he did prefer to go for those 7 bases. Which does make sense, they're a lot more defensive.
Yeah, again... Yeah, this is another way to play this map. You can just completely wall off at your natural, so then you can just expand to the south and focus on that instead. And yeah, like, there are pros and cons, right? It means that you can open up the south section a lot more faster, a lot earlier, so you can, you know, move from one end to the other a lot easier. It's a lot more defensible as well. There's, yeah, it's a lot that goes into
Wall, I'm not sure how it came to, I'm not sure how we got to this point, but Golden Wall has the potential to either be the map where you have the most standard of standard games, or the map where you have a lot of tricks going for you.
Yeah, and even the standard games, like, there's a lot of, like, different ways, like, there's the dynamic of the matchup of the map itself, like, does affect how it plays out. So in general, like, I know a lot of people don't like to play on it because there's so much that you have to take into account, but when it comes to, like, casting and watching, like, I enjoy it. I love it.
This map, didn't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Without a question. I barely played any games at all on this in my ladder sessions. Jeez, you kidding me?
Who do you think I am?
Oh god.
But it looks like SOS. I'm not quite sure what he's going for right now, as he's gotten the Stargate, he's getting the Dark Shrine as well as Blink, so, you know, just trying to open up some opportunities for him.
Oh. Both players going for Dark Shrine, actually.
Oh, this is going to be playing out.
Interesting. Yeah, like, when it comes to their tech choices, when it comes to their upgrades, like, they're both going for similar routes, except SOS, he does have the faster Dark Shrine. He does also have that more aggressive warp-in point with that proxy gateway out in the middle of the map. So, yeah, he's going to be playing this out differently in the sense that he won't have a Warp Prism, but looking to be a little bit more aggressive regardless.
Oh, he canceled that Stargate. I was looking for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he threw it down in the main base, right? But it got
he
canceled.
Decided, oh, I do not need that if I'm going to be going Dark Shrine, but joke's on you, SOS. You're going to need either that or the Robo if you're going to have detection against CTs.
Yeah, here we have the scout from Stats. Meanwhile, the DTs of SOS are already going into the natural of Stats. Are going to pick up the Cyber Core.
They will. It just cannot come out here in time. Very nice force field, but I think it may just be too late. One more swipe with a DT. But SOS doesn't get it.
The detection?
The observer is just coming down.
The
Could not do another force field. The Cyber Core does go down just as detection pops out. Very nicely done by SOS.
Wow, and just like that, that hinders the Warp Prism here for Stats in the sense that, oh no, he's gonna get pissed off!
Warp Prism. If Stats was actually able to drop those DTs into the main base, what was SOS gonna do? Nothing. But they got picked off, and yeah, and very, everything's going SOS's way right now.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. The fact that SOS, he doesn't have a robo. The robo is still in production, so there's no detection whatsoever for SOS. So those DTs would have done so much damage. And now the DTs there for Stats, they did walk across the map. They're trying to do something, but the Forge just finished up for SOS. Like, he's trying to get cannons down. He's got his robo on the way as well. Oh my god, like, the timing was there for Stats, but like, SOS was just on top of it.
Perfect anti-timing if that came down, but unfortunately did not. Alright, still detectionless here in the natural, so this is a way for Stats to really do damage, but look at this. I'm just looking at the minimap and just looking at how those three armies kind of convene together.
Ooh, nice force fields, but the Archon does push through. Those force fields does break them, and SOS, he's all in. Like, he's losing everything across the map to the DTs.
I'm not sure who to favor right now. I think Stats may have just done it right now. He just needs to defend against this, and honestly, looking at his income, looking at his defender's advantage, looking at his beautiful force field usage, GG is called. Stats gonna be able to tie up the series sideways 1-1.
Wow, GG. Even though that War Prism was sniped, even though the DTs were delayed for Stats, SOS just never got detection. To be fair, his Robo only had just finished, but he did get a Forge pretty early on. Like, I was assuming that he was prioritizing the Forge for cannons. I think, but yeah, he just never had detection.
But then he was focused on his army during the time the Forge finished up.
Yeah.
Either that or he just saw, oh, okay, yeah, I dealt with this War Prism. I don't need to worry about DTs, and yeah, no, you kind of do.
You kind of do. I assume so because SOS, he actually started +1, like with the Forge, like he started the upgrade, like he was aware of it, but yeah, there was just no detection. Those DTs, again, even though they were delayed, they forced SOS all in, and Stats, he is the shield of Ire, you know, he stood strong.
In a game where everything looked like it wasn't going Stats' way, everything was just going SOS's way, Stats just dived in and took that win.
Yeah, and also shout out to Wardy. There's people in the chat confirming that Wardy, he actually promoted us, saying that if they wanted to continue watching the tournament, to come to our stream. So thank you so much, Wardy. We really appreciate it. We've actually worked with Wardy in the past. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. we did do the Sellout Cup together, so yeah, we really appreciate it. You know, we try and support each other whenever we can.
You can't see me right now, Wardy, but I'm doing one of those finger heart things, but it doesn't really look like a heart.
I was doing the same thing. I was doing the exact same thing.
Mine doesn't really look like a heart, though. And speaking of hearts, I'm not sure if this player has one because he is brutal to his opponents. But when push comes to shove, I don't know where I was going with that. We're on Death Aura. We're in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top left-hand corner of the map. We have a red Protoss player coming down all the way from the land of Korea. Gonna be representing Generic Greenwings Jaguar. We have SOS. Soul of Sky.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing a Freak of Freaks. It is Stats.
I just saw explosions. On that intro.
I'm telling you, man. They just cancel and nukes go off. God damn.
Imagine playing at max volume and then your opponent just cancels everything.
Oh my god.
Game Heart, so at least the players won't have to deal with that, but...
True. It's very true. But yeah, I'm just really curious to see how this plays out. Again, like Golden Wall, it was a little bit strange. We had DTs versus DTs. Again, I don't expect to see a game quite like that in this series as, you know, this progresses, but we'll see. True,
and actually
very true.
Stats for that matter. Now Stats, he is called the Shield of Fire for a reason. He is, I think, generally known for being probably the most standard Protoss right now. Almost kind of like Rain, where he can sometimes be a little boring to watch, to be honest. But no, I think SOS is also aware of that. Again, kind of like Rain in his later days of StarCraft 2. And he does tend to throw in a couple of cheeky builds, at least once in a series.
I do like how, because of the amount of Protoss players in this tournament series, in ESL Open Cup Asia, we somehow, every single week, we talk about Rain.
I'm telling you, Rain is the absolute... Rain is iconic.
He is. I'm not denying it. I'm not denying it.
Honestly,
he is the prophet of Protoss. He is. It's unfortunate. He won GSL on My Insanity, and then he retired. Like
exactly.
He left in a peak.
All right, I've done all I want to do.
Yeah. It's a strange situation where he's a player who retired and left the game when he was still very much so in form. Yeah,
surgery or something at the time. Or was that a little bit beforehand?
I think it was beforehand because he left and then he went right into Brood War. And
he did, and then he won tournaments there too.
He did.
I'm telling you, like, he may not have won as much as S, he may not have dominated as much as Stats, he may not be as much of a Chad as Classic, but Rain, he's iconic.
And speaking of Chads, right now we do have Adepts versus Stalkers here, and Stats being the one to go for Adepts this time. Quite a number of them trading quite well against these Stalkers, like taking them down one at a time. Like, you don't typically see this too often, but he...
But yep, you were right. Stats not quite aware of that forward pylon. Does have a little bit of suspicion now. But yeah, because he didn't know about that pylon, he just got his Adepts right out of position. A very natural CranKy formed for SOS. And I think this might be too late. There are two force fields available right now for Stats. Well, he's gonna have to give up his natural.
Exactly, like the sentries are going to be great to stop the Stalkers from going to the main base, but he's giving up his natural because of it. Like, he's going to lose so much, and he has to be so careful with his sentries. If he goes too a little bit too close, they can be focused down.
They really can. The Immortal will help, but what's one Immortal going to do against this many Stalkers? Stats, he's really going to have the perfect micro with his force fields, with his Guardian Shells, with his Guardian Shields. You can't exactly micro Guardian Shell. Well, I guess you can, but it's an insta-trigger, so it's kind of hard to really control.
Yeah, and I do think this does come down to the fact that you pointed it out, right? Stats had no idea about that reinforcing pylon, so he did kind of get surrounded. He wasn't expecting all of these reinforcements. It kind of caught him off guard, and now he's forced on one base, but it's not over. We do see Stats heading across the map with that Warp Prism.
Man, just like that Golden Wall game, Stats, when he's on the back foot, he sends out some harassment. We'll see if, like the Golden Wall game, this is going to force SOS into an all-in. Hopefully it won't, and we'll be able to get into a bit of a longer game.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I do love this from Stats because if we look at his main base and that ramp, like, there's no way SOS is going to be able to push up into the main base. Like, with Immortals, shield batteries, and all those sentries, like, it's almost impossible.
SOS just going to stand there threateningly. I imagine.
Yeah. So because of this...
Minus dumb.
Like, Stats, he realizes, and he's like, go on.
Oh, no. I think you cut out there for a sec. But yeah, forces a recall here, Stats does. Yeah. And this is absolutely the start. Yeah, no, mine was dumb. I was just going to say, yeah, this Immortal and these Stalkers are just hurling insults at one another.
yeah, and I mean, I did cut out there. But because of that, because Stats was able to force the recall, he does finally break out of his main base, going to be able to take his Nexus, but yeah, he will be behind the economy for quite some time.
For now, at any rate, he does have... It's kind of hard to gauge, but I think Stats has a bit of a better army. He does have 2 Immortals now? No, an Immortal and a Disruptor.
He has a Disruptor.
He has a Disruptor. He has a lot of sentries for any Force Fields or Guardian Shields as he needs. Blink is just going to be finishing up right now for SOS, so I feel like it's a bit more on SOS to be able to micro and blink his Stalkers just about perfectly compared to Stats, who doesn't need to do too much more. Nice Purification Nova, but a beautiful snipe on that Warp Prism. Has the damage already been done, though? That's just Immortal really chipping away at the forces. I think Stats may have just done it.
Maybe. I mean, we do have more Adepts shading into the natural. Oh, actually doesn't commit to the shade there. He stays in the main base, getting more and more damage done there. Oh, Shield Overcharge does get used, and there's no Immortal here, so it's going to be harder to chip away this.
Shots.
Oh, it does not.
Forward, and I think SOS may have just been able to hold this. But there are still Adepts here. I'm loving what Stats is doing right now. He's just focusing on trying to thin out the Adept count. Or not the Adept count, the Stalkers count, I'm sorry. So that these Adepts can just instantly take out as many probes as he can. Quick little warping coming in from SOS. And with that, SOS has been able to hold. But I feel like somehow we've actually equalized. Stats is ahead on Workers.
I was about to say, Stats, he has done so much economic damage. He is ahead by almost 10 Workers at the moment. And what's important is that he's keeping SOS at home. Like, these shades are keeping him here, which means that Stats, he's free to macro up, free to make more army, and just get further and further ahead.
That has just got to be the most liberating feeling, I gotta tell you, like, just breaking out of a contain like that and getting ahead.
Right? Like what a Chad move, you know? He went taking to one base, he broke out, he didn't just break out, he pushed SOS all the way across the map and just cut his work account in half. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like you don't know what you've done, SOS. Like, this is not, you don't want me to stay on one base like this, and exactly, you made me do this. Oh my god.
But one thing I will say about SOS though, he is a little bit ahead in terms of tech count, now being or now going into his Twilight Council upgrade, starting with that charge. I don't think Stats even has Blink right now. Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does not, as I don't actually think he has a Twilight Council of his own. So, as you were saying, SOS, he does have Blink already, he does have Zealot Legs, that we go Twilight Council finally being thrown down for stats. So, oh, and the army, it is a little bit out of position. These Stalkers may be looking to get some more damage, but almost get
Blink is invaluable in these situations. But it does pressure escape, even stops by the shield battery, gets a little bit of a shields, you know, just a bit of a touch-up. Nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy, you know, stats on top of it. It would have been disastrous if he lost his War Prism there, but he was able to keep it alive. And now stats, he's pushing out across the map. He has the higher immortal count, but as we were saying, SOS does have Blink, and Zealot Legs is about to finish up as well.
But how is that really going to help out against 2 Immortals and this many Stalkers? Shield Battery is definitely going to be a big help, but stats, he is the one who understands Shield Batteries, immediately takes it out. Beautiful flank here of the Zealots, though.
Wow. Oh, beautiful surrounding. And the War Prism is going to go down as well.
Just about be it. But look at all the surface area denial, though, from stats. One Immortal does go down, but just about all of the Zealots does with it. Another Immortal still alive, and still a very healthy Stalker count.
Oh, he blinks on top of the Immortal. It looks like he will be able to snipe it, and with that, SOS takes the wind out of the sails of this push. Only gateway units remaining for stats, and again, he doesn't have Blink, he doesn't have Zealot Legs, so SOS, he's able to kite back and hold on.
We are 10.5 minutes in, and we are still on 2 bases, like... Welcome to PvP.
Oh my god. Like stats, he was able to do so much, but I just love that wraparound with the Zealots. Like that flank did so much for SOS.
Really did. He'd been dead otherwise. And again, comes back to not having Blink there for stats.
Yeah, and I mean, that time will come to an end quite shortly. You know, Stats does have Blink on the way. He will be catching up in terms of tech. He's actually the first player to go for the 3rd base as well, being quite greedy here, quite confident in his ability to defend, which, I mean, I don't blame him, to be honest. And yeah, like this game, we could go on for quite some time.
I wonder. So far, we have been seeing a series of small skirmishes, and both players kind of wiping each other out, so I think Stats may just be trying to win a game of attrition here. Is going to go for this push. I think he's realized that he's forced SOS to bleed just about enough. Either way.
Yeah, he does have to be...
Either way, just going to be good to secure his 3rd base. Blink not quite done yet for Stats.
Exactly, that's what's important, right? Like, Stats, he's out here in the middle of the map, not really looking to, like, push and end the game, but he's just posturing here, forcing SOS to be on the defensive, allowing Stats to get away with this 3rd base, but SOS going for this Zealot run by, so he is looking to try and apply some pressure and hopefully catch that 3rd base undefended.
Yeah, both players do now have
Blink on cooldown.
Disruptors. So Purification Nova was...
Oh, that they do.
Didn't manage to get too much done there, but nice little bit of zoning. Stats going for a little bit of a wraparound, going straight for this 3rd base. Gonna be able to cancel that. Not a lot of defenses right now for Stats.
Yeah, I mean, these Zealots are going to be dealing a lot of damage. Meanwhile, on the outside of the map, the 3rd base was denied, was forced to cancel, so SOS stuck on 2 bases, and if SOS defends against the Zealot run by, then he's going to be looking in a really good position.
It does look like he's deflected the run by quite a bit. SOS trying to force this engagement right now. He knows that he's got the upper hand in terms of disruptors. We're not quite getting too much done. Disruptor is so out of position. That was a bit of a risk taken from SOS, and if it succeeded, he could have taken out all of Stats' army, but when it didn't, he just had a Disruptor that was way far out of position.
Exactly, there is one more Disruptor shot out, but it does get focused on.
GG is called, and Stats gonna go into match point right here.
Wow, GG. And again, you don't want to test stats like that. You don't want to contain him to one base like that, because that was just amazing to see. To see him counterattack and just deal so much damage across the map, getting himself ahead. And we'll see if SOS can bring it back. As a reminder, this is a best of 5, so we are getting into match point.
We are indeed. Will SOS be able to climb his way back and make it to the finals, his first finals in an ESL Open Cup Asia? Or will Stats deny that?
Yeah. As a reminder, again, we spoke about it earlier, but not before, like, Wardy's quote-unquote raid. SOS, he hasn't played in too many of these. I believe this is, like, his maybe 4th appearance. And even then, one of the appearances he off-raced, so I don't know if that really counts.
And we do have an update on the other side of the map. We do have our second semifinals. Maddox is going to be joining us once again here. And our second semifinals is going to be Time versus Ragnarok.
Ooh, wow. Ragnarok took out Solar.
Time took out Hurricane.
Yeah, really impressive feats there from both of those players. Again, like, no PvP finals. I'll watch his ending. The curse has been lifted.
And all it took was one whatchamacallit. And so you have a whatchamacallit, we are on a map that you can kind of consider to be a whatchamacallit, as we are now on Pillars of Gold. LE does in fact stand for Liquid Emulsification. Figure that one out. In the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have a red Protoss player coming out all the way from the land of Korea in that team house right now. All of his other teammates are standing behind his back right now, giving him a little bit of a shoulder massage and whatnot. Just watching this play out. Representing Jiner Greenwings Jaguar, we have SOS. Otherwise known as Barcode.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Pillars of Gold LE, we have the other South Korean Protoss player representing Afrika Freaks. It is Stats.
This could be how it all ends. Like,
it could all end here. Again, like, Stats, he's on match point. One more win, and he takes the series. I
remember last time I saw Stats in the PvP on Pillars of Gold, and let me tell you, like, it was an interesting game. And my shield batteries were part of it, and by shield batteries, I mean offensive shield batteries. You can kind of assume that shield batteries are always going to be a part of Protoss, but...
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, surprisingly, as you mentioned it, this series, even though we're in a PvP, we haven't seen any proxy buildings. Like, we've had proxy, like, reinforcing gateways, but that's not too crazy. Like, we haven't had proxy robos or Twilight Councils or Stargates or anything like that. The way I look at it is
that a proxy gateway, it's not quite a cheese, because it does rely a little bit on not being scouted, but it's not really designed to end the game quickly. You know, unless you're going for a proxy gateway DT or something.
Speaking of which, as I'm currently pointing out, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be SOS, and there we have a proxy Stargate.
Go.
I knew it. A PvP is not complete without at least one of these.
Is there going to be a tagline? I just imagine it like you're trying to sell Stargate at IKEA.
If you're gonna have a PvP, you need at least a proxy Stargate or a proxy Robo. Okay, you can't go out there without one.
I'll give you a good price on it. Only 150 minerals, 150 gas. I could be wrong about the actual values there. But yeah, Stats does scout the Stargate.
That's a good deal, and I feel like being wrong about the values adds to the fact that you're like a like car dealership guy. like that's very fitting.
And speaking of wrong values, Stalkers are already in position.
Yeah. I mean, stats. He did go in for a scout, and he did spot that there were only actually he did spot the proxy Stargate, so he is aware that this is coming. And he's already preparing himself for it.
Fully walling himself off here. This pylon is actually still in range of the adepts. I did not think that was possible.
I was very surprised when the adept started shooting the pylon. I was like, oh my, they have longer range than I thought.
Yeah, longer than a roach, at least. Oracle does get a little bit deflected here, but SOS does get a little bit of scouting done. Does, once again, just pull the stalkers away from this main threat, which is the adepts. SOS gonna have to back away there once he sees a very quick morphing stalker. Cannot quite get that pylon.
Yeah, and so far solid defense by stats. I think that maybe SOS could have killed the pylon, but he would have had to sacrifice his adepts for it. And yeah, opted to save them instead. And yeah, so far the oracles didn't deal too much damage, but he did keep them alive.
The oracles. Yes, I want to kill it.
I was hoping for it actually,
but no, not gonna be the case here. just getting some more scouting done. This one oracle is so low. If it makes just one wrong turn, it's out. But they both survive.
Wow, they both do survive. Again, they haven't dealt too much damage, but the fact that they have survived means that the potential for more probe kills is there. And he does at least force stats to keep some army at home defensively, just in case that oracle does pop out. Meanwhile, stats, he does have a couple of adepts here across the map, looking to see if there's any third base timing, and try and sneak into the natural.
Hopefully also the main, as there is a dark shrine coming up, which is something that stats is gonna have to be scouting for. He doesn't have he has no detection right now. Getting a forge could just be a reverse of the golden wall.
This could be a reverse, as there is a forge on the way, so again, cannons are potential, same with the robo, but the DT, the dark shrine, has finished. DTs are being worked in.
A very interesting pylon location.
Yeah, unfortunately there's no gateway, so it does take a little bit of time for the DTs to warp in, but regardless, there is no detection whatsoever for stats. His force fields or his Sim City is going to have to be on point, as again, this is a full wall. Again, the Cybernetics Core is vulnerable once again, just like a golden wall, but this time the force fields are on point.
Very much so. Even starting up the secondary wall just in case a force field won't cut it. But a force field will cut it. But you know what won't be cutting it, like DTs.
Yeah, exactly. The DTs are just swiping away. That secondary wall is being thrown down by stats, and he is looking to try and hold on long enough for that detection to come into play, and it is finally out.
It looks like this may be just enough here for stats to hold on. The adepts are starting to come in, and that's definitely going to be a little bit of a bother, but beautiful body blocking here from stats. Blink has also finished up for him. And this has just been deflected. Once again, the Shield of Ire living up to his name there.
Yeah, he kept the Cybernetics Core alive. He kept the majority of his probes alive as well. So nice defense done there by stats, able to hold strong. And the DTs, they were nice cheeky play from SOS, but they didn't deal anywhere near as much damage as they would have liked to.
Definitely did not. Stats is now on his way across the map, pushing out with only Stalkers. +1 will be finishing up by the time this push goes down. So they will be pretty hard hitting Stalkers. And honestly, there's not a lot here for SOS. I think Stats has kind of figured out. You spent a lot in that attack, didn't you? You probably don't have a lot to defend, and you certainly don't have enough to really have a map presence.
Yeah, exactly. And since, Stats does have Blink with these Stalkers, he can afford to be out here on the map, dealing some damage, having a presence, blinking away in case things do go awry. And finally, one of the Oracles does go down.
The arms of an angel.
And as this was happening, both players are both expanding, trying to take their third bases. Again, one of those oracles is still alive, and SOS has been getting decent probe damage. But Stats is looking to blink into the main base.
Stats is about to find out there's nothing here in the main.
Oh god!
Right on fourth, and should be able to power a heck of a lot. Potentially even get this Dark Shrine, but Stats is being a bit more conservative here. Just getting a pylon, staying to see if he can get anything else done, but then blinking away at the first sign of trouble. Nicely done.
Yeah. Some solid damage down there, and oh, even the Immortal a little bit exposed. I don't know if he's going to try and go for it. Instead, it gets a couple of Stalker kills instead.
You see those observers just died at the same time?
Yeah.
One of them could have lived.
They trade observer kills as well. Stats actually being the first to start going for disruptors. Meanwhile, of course, SOS going for blink DTs. Someone wake up Fear Dragon.
I imagine he's just shot up in bed right now, like, what?
Woke up from not even a fever dream. It's like he was awoken by SOS just doing this. It's like something in his mind is triggering.
Oh wait, it's just SOS.
Oh god. Yeah, so we'll see how this comes into play. Again, blink DTs can do wonders, you know, blinking to the main base, especially in these late game scenarios when you're kind of stretched thin. And but so far, like stats, he is known for his defensive play, so we'll see if SOS is able to find some kind of damage with them.
DTs are a little bit situational, and this is one of those situations where it's should not get too much done. But as I say that, there is no detection in the main, and all of the army of stats is at his front.
He's being pulled apart. He oh god, like the DTs are dealing all the damage in the main, and he does push away the army at the third though. I feel like there was an opportunity there for SOS, but stats, he took notice of it.
He did, sent his observer all the way back. And I mean, blink DTs are good, but he doesn't have blink yet, and they're not quite as good as blink stalkers.
Not quite.
And once again, the sort of initiative has swung back into Stats' favor. Look at the upgrades and look at the army supply here, Light.
Yeah, this is looking very much so in Stats' favor. Like SOS, he's been trying to be aggressive, trying to deal some kind of damage, and I mean, to be fair, he's ahead in workers. Like the DTs dealt a lot of worker damage, but now he has to deal with the army of Stats.
He very much so does. One thing that I like going for SOS is he does have a couple of Immortals out here, and he does have a Disruptor. I mean, Stats, he's got more, but as we said, one Purification Nova is sometimes all you really need.
Exactly. We'll see how this goes, as both players do have blinks, so they will be able to try and dodge these disruptor shots. And I believe SOS is on cooldown. He blinks on top of it.
Right on top of it. Sends out a couple of his own. Blink is on cooldown for SOS. Could not split fast enough there. And I think this is just going to be it. Stats should be your first finalist tonight.
Wow, immediately blinked on top of the Immortals, the Disruptors. There's one remaining Disruptor here for SOS, and he even has defensive DTs. I don't believe... Oh, there is detection here for Stats, so despite the DTs, he's able to defend. Meanwhile, at the same time, SOS is in the main base of Stats, trying to deal all of this damage with these blink DTs, and he is dealing a fair amount. Like, he killed the entire mineral line, he's killing reinforcements, but what is there to stop the main army of
really
Stats?
Send out a Purification over to deal with one DT. It's a little bit excessive, to say the least. But yeah,
I mean, he has the detection, right? He needs to do something.
But I mean, yeah, I think SOS is just trying to buy himself as much time as possible. He's hoping that Stats will just return to his base, but Stats ain't biting.
Yeah, and Stats, he does have a defensive observer now. He does have that consistent detection, so he will be able to defend. And SOS, I was about to say that he had a worker lead. Not anymore. He's down to 2 bases. He's down on workers. He lost a lot of high-tech units as well. But Stats does, you know, back off and give him a little bit of time to breathe.
Yeah, he would rather not risk trying to end it right there and losing his entire army. Because again, Disruptors, it's something that you do have to respect. They don't always get a lot done, but yeah, if you're not careful, they're gonna get a lot done.
Yeah, definitely. So, Stats, he still has to be careful. 3 Disruptors here for SOS.
Disruptors are SOS. They're looking fairly exposed right now, like...
Exposed. Yeah, 100%. They could be blinked on top of. They are being left alone from the Stalkers.
But SOS has spotted this with his Zealot and has backed away. It seemed for a little bit that SOS may have been preparing for a base trade. But those probes have been dealt with.
Yeah, and it looks like... if SOS isn't careful, he's going to get surrounded in the middle of the map, but we have these DTs, they take out the cannon.
Aura's not quite in position, and speaking of not quite in position, without observer speed, they do take quite a while to move between bases, don't they?
Yeah, and even the shield battery trying to keep that Nexus alive, but the DPS is too high. Stats loses the third base, and again, like he was outmaneuvered in the middle of the map, like the main army of SOS went around in a big circle.
What a beautiful blink on top of these disruptors, sniping them right off. I think Stats can just end it right here.
Oh yeah, only one disruptor left, but Stats blinks on top of all of the stalkers of SOS, everything going down.
I wasn't sure if I pressed it, I accidentally pressed it twice. And there you have it. Stats is going to be your first finalist tonight. Whether he's going to be facing a TVP or a PVZ, we are going to be finding out. And as that happens, the animation dude, we were looking for someone like you. Thank you very much for the host.
Thank you so much for the host. Mint Crystal, I believe he was casting earlier. He is based in the European time zone though, so I'm not too sure if he, what has come up. But yeah, he did rate us, or host us, sorry. We really do appreciate it, as we are getting underway with the second semifinals.
It's going to be a TVZ. I feel like we've been starved of this matchup in ESL Pro Tour for a while.
Yeah, and it looks like this may be a fresh series. We do have to confirm with the players whether they started or they've been waiting for us. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like, we're both Time fans. I feel like we don't get to cuss enough of him. And I'm not too sure, but I want to say that this may be his deepest run. I don't know if he's made it past the semis before.
Yeah, I think he lost to, I want to say, Trap. Don't quite remember. These were in the early days when it was in the wild, wild west.
Ooh, yes, I can confirm. Literally, the first ESL Open Cup Asia, Time made it to the finals against
there
Solo.
we go.
Yeah. He made it a second time to the finals against Zaun in number 6, and those are the only two other times he has made it to said finals.
Wild West. I'm still waiting for the day, because so far we've had 3 non-Korean finalists in ESL Open Cup Asia. I'm waiting for the day where they just meet in the finals. I believe they were Scarlet, Time, and Estrella, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.